Internet, womp 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 womp. 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 Internet, doo 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 doo. Internet. Hey, what's up, Internet? Joel Gillett first into the chat. And feel my swag. Coming in second. Second's pretty good. Second is pretty good. Speaking of second place, I got some slight news. Family member came in second place doing second place stuff at an Olympic event. Warm-up trial event thing. Majigger. Woo. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Saturday. Lovely Saturday. And, yeah. Oh, is that the jingle? Is that your jam? I should make a mixtape for y'all, and then y'all could fly around in your spaceship and listen to mixtapes and stuff, right? Isn't that how that works? Oh, hey, I gotta click the button over here. I don't know why I always forget this button over here that needs clicking. There we go. I think I clicked it. Did it work? Yeah, okay. And then I gotta click. Yeah. Hold on. Whoop. Comments, messages. There we go. Mess Hodges. Well, Cichlid Bro never got back to me, so we'll probably get to his thing that he sent me in a bit of the live stream today. So I gave him the option. Congrats on what? I don't know. Oh, congrats to Joel. He's on the loo. Working on, hold on. He's working on some of this action right here. Oh, a little fresh coffee. If y'all have missed my mug, it's back. Actually, it's always been around. I just haven't featured it recently in any of the videos. But it is the coffee induces the deuces, if you know what I'm saying. Inducing the deuces is the coffee. Mighty powerful. As you guys can tell, we are on an early live stream today for Saturday, which is typical of the Saturday or live stream, whatchamacallit, schedule. The schedule. So, those of you that can't make the regular evening live stream, Saturday is your day. Saturday is your day to make it here during the day. And you're able to get here and do things. What have we been up to today? We've been up to some stuff. We got some things going on. As the title says here, we're going to talk about Sumps and C02 in the Aquascapes because my CO2 is now connected, and I have a little bit of a walkthrough video from this morning of hooking it up. Also, if you can't see too much of my office, but if you're paying attention out there to the things going on in the background, things have changed a little bit since yesterday. We've got a bunch of work done in here. Thank you, special thank you to Victoria for helping organize a bunch of the stuff that I had that was very disorganized and is now wonderfully organized. I honestly do not know how she does it so quickly and effectively. Her brain is clearly much more higher function than mine is because I can't put this together. This would have taken me days, and it just took her a couple of hours of running through, which is amazing. And a huge help because I was able to do the CO2 stuff while that was happening. A quick hair update to everyone out there. I haven't washed my hair, so I got a lot of cowlicks from sleeping. But this is the new style for a little bit because we have the wedding to go to today, and I shall be getting spiffied after the live stream is done here. Throw a quick shave in a fancy schnazzy new suit that I got. So we'll do a little Saturday wedding action for some friends of ours, Derek and Olga. Hopefully you guys, the listeners / watchers, whatever, will be able to meet Derek fairly soon. He should be coming on to do some of the, I guess, more kind of political bend to the channel. We'll be doing some live streams and podcast type stuff talking about current events and things going on. Which has irritated a whole bunch of people that I announced that stuff is going to be coming along. But hopefully you all will like it and maybe give you guys a little bit of a different perspective from some guys that aren't necessarily talking heads like on the TV and this and that and the other thing. Hopefully Joel Gillett will be a great source to us to get some of that great New Zealand news that goes up. Some of the protests in New Zealand are they're not even high on my list. They're pretty much top on my list. New Zealand politics is kind of one of my favorite things, honestly. It's just hilarious and amazing how involved New Zealanders are as a population. Although right now he's, of course, reminding us that there are people all over the world sitting on toilets listening to this. Yeah, you're probably right. There's probably quite a few people just rocking the excrement, if you know what I'm saying. But hopefully we got some tidbits of information coming to you guys today that are worthwhile. Thank you everybody for coming out. I like the dislikes moderators 01. I like that handle. That's a good handle. I think I have a lot of people that show up for these live streams that have great handles. I like people's names. That's easy. And then some people have got some amazing creativity with their handle. I dig it. It always gets a laugh out of me, and it's not only on the live stream am I able to explain that I actually do laugh at the funny handles that I read on YouTube quite often. I don't know. I felt like I had more stuff to talk about here at the beginning, but we'll make sounds and do the commercial part right now. The commercial part, hey, if you want to support the channel, go to darkstararts.com, click through the Amazon link, and buy stuff on Amazon. Nunchucks, karate swords, and fresh bananas, because apparently now Amazon is buying Whole Foods to expand their food delivery marketing system, blah, blah, blah. Did you guys see that deal? $13.4 or $7 billion deal to incorporate Whole Foods into Amazon, which is unfortunately kind of sad because I have a lot to say about Whole Foods and the kind of crap that they pull. But we're not going to be talking about that right now. But let's just talk about the part where it's amazing that Amazon has come up with $13 billion to buy that company, and that's pretty wild. We're starting to see a lot more of the corporations conglomerizing and buying each other, which is really frightening as far as I'm concerned. At some point in time, there will be a giant corporation overlording against us regular folks, if you know what I'm saying. So the other part of the advertising here is you can super chat and directly support the channel, and you will be kept on record by yours truly. And let's run through some of the super chatters out there. Joel Gillett, Aquarium Co-op, Minnesota Aquariums, Tai Hang, Luis Q, and Aquarium Co-op again, and whatnot. Thank you very much to everybody who has super chatted. That is one way that you can do it. Down at the bottom of the chat, there's like a $sign thing. You can click on that and donate $100 million. Hopefully your account can handle it. You know what I'm saying? And then we'll be able to start a new whole aquarium here in Tacoma, Washington. We'll start digging and digging and digging and make a giant shark tank. By the way, I wanted to talk about a Shark Tank for just a second. Not the TV show. That's a stupid show. Whatever. An actual Shark Tank that I got to go to, which is Point Defiance Zoo. If you've ever been there before, they have a... you have to go underground and see the nurse sharks and what they're doing. And I will tell you something. I've been always amazed by that one since I was a small child. I think the first time I went there was like 10. It is an amazing opportunity. So if maybe you don't want to donate a super chat to this channel, make sure you donate to your local aquarium. Maybe not the zoo. Maybe the zoo is a little too politically charged for you, but the aquarium would be a great thing to donate a couple of bucks to in our stead, and give a lot of kids a great opportunity to go check out some aquatic stuff that is really amazing. There's a lot of really cool work going on. One of the aquariums that's local to this area is the Newport Aquarium in Oregon, and I have to say, they last time I was there, they had an exhibit that was an example of what is actually going on just a few miles away from where the actual aquarium is. They basically built a dock inside the aquarium and then threw a buttload of garbage off the dock inside the aquarium to really give you an idea of the kind of things that are happening to our planet, and we don't notice them because we look out and we see the ocean, and the ocean is beautiful, but the stuff that is going on underneath it is unbelievable. Man's touch on the world is it's really easy for us to gloss over and not see, but that exhibit was really a big eye-opener to a lot of people, and especially when I was there, I saw most people go, well, why is all this garbage in here? And, the people that worked there said, this is what docks look like when you scuba dive underneath them, and I can testify it's very true. It was a very big eye-opener at that aquarium, and I would say, so maybe you don't want to donate to the channel, but donate to a local aquarium and give some kids an opportunity to get exposed to some of these things. It's amazing. It's amazing to be able to see that kind of stuff, and luckily I live in a part of the world that actually has aquariums and zoos and all of these really cool things. Maybe you're not really into aquariums, maybe you're not into zoos, but something that comes to mind here would be Northwest Track. Northwest Track is a wolf sanctuary here in Washington, where a lot of the local kids will end up getting to go on a field trip and go see actual wolves. And actually live on this big sanctuary. You can kind of go around and they get a chance to see some of the wolves, hear the wolves, see how amazing those creatures are and stuff like that. So maybe one of those three things is really important to you, and donate to those kind of really kind of altruistic things that are out there, or just donate directly to the channel, and I'll try to get the word out. Matthew Waybright has showed up. What's up, man? And I'm slacking on the chat feed over here, but the best way to get in where you fit in is the super chat thing. It always pops it up to the top if once things start getting cooking here. I tried finding a shark to cuddle when I was in Tonga, but I couldn't find any. I really needed to upload the video of that. I think you should upload that video. I would check that one out for sure. XSub4146, what up? I have about 20 local aquariums I donate to. They're all in your house. Oh, you got me. Yeah, I also have a few local aquariums myself that I donate to on a regular basis, constantly dumping money in there. Tai Hang, my man. Oh, even mentioned you earlier, one of our super chat donators. Thank you very much. Glad to see you coming out today. It is 1:14 p.m. here, my time, so Pacific Standard Time, because that's where I live. I live in the Pacific Standard Time. I gotta click the thing back over here. Massages. I gotta turn it back to messages. There we go. So I can get those live messages. But let's get on to the next portion of the video for today. Hello, everybody, and thanks for coming out for sure. So we'll go on to scene 3 and see what's going on here. I get questions about light timers more often than I would like to than I'd like to realistically admit. I get them all the time. People constantly asking me how to program them, how to do those things, and I don't look down on people that do that. These stupid little things can be really confusing if you've never really messed with one before. Although once you figure it out, they become really simple. So there's a dial around the side, that goes around, and it encompasses a 24-hour period, and each little tab on there is a 15-minute increment. Now, depending on the type that you have, up or down means on or off. Now, as you go and set up your light cycle, I do not recommend going over an 8-hour period of on, 16-hour period of off. Sometimes 10 hours is necessary for bigger systems or this or that or the other thing, but just stick with around an 8-hour period. So think about the time that you're around your aquarium, right? So I set my light timers to go from 1 p.m. till 9 p.m. Because typically in the morning, I'm pretty much too busy to do a bunch of stuff. I have to load up my truck, get all my saws and equipment and all that stuff onto my truck, have a cup of coffee, pack a lunch, do all that stuff. So having my lights on in the morning is not very beneficial because and I forgot to hook up the live chat. There we go. There, you guys are back. But I don't find it to be really beneficial in order for there to be have the lights on in the morning. So I normally will set to about midday and then 8 or 9 o'clock at night, because let's say I get home from work at 5:30. So around 5:30, I'm going to have about 4 or 5 hours of time for the lights to be on during when I'm home, and so I can actually enjoy the lights being on. Me being a human, I can't see all that well in the pitch black, so it's good to have the lights on and see what's going on and how things are going. As you can see, I have an old power strip here that looks like hell, but it still works well. I tested it just the other day, and I'm not going to tell you guys how to test your electrical. If you don't know how to do that, I really recommend either just replacing old stuff or getting a local guy that's like an electrician or something like that, or even a low voltage guy would know how to do it. Somebody come help you out, test your stuff, make sure that it's working properly. I'm not going to tell you how to do it because I don't want to have anything to do with the liability of you doing it wrong. I'm not saying you're going to do it wrong, but if you don't know how to do it, that's up to you to start learning. I'm not going to tell you how to do electrical stuff. One of the big reasons I didn't do a lot of videos on doing electrical in this is because there are dangers when it comes to setting up electrical. There's a lot of work that needs to go in to make sure that things aren't over resisted or amperage is wrong or this or that or the other thing. So I'm not here to explain all that to you, but I did test that. So I've got my lights and my CO2 on this one power strip right here. If you'll notice later in the video, I do have what are called duplex outlets. I got 4 outlet boxes set up around the room on individual not relays is the wrong line, but they're all individually lined out so that everything is basically running all off of one breaker in one circuit. I want to maintain inside my my electrical box here what's over here and what's over here. I'm not going to explain why, but I just need to keep things isolated to one side and the other side because of amperage draw, blah, 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 blah. But my lights and my CO2 are going to be using very little amounts of power. It's not going to be pulling a ton of power. So I got my my pump is the thing that's going to be using the most electrical, so that one's isolated over by itself, and then my lights and my CO2 will be on this one power strip over on the other side of the duplex box. And I had to move the camera here so we get a weird unfocused shot. Stuff. As you can see here, I'm going to be fiddling with my CO2 reactor, which is these I build myself. This is actually one of my really old ones that I honestly did not build very well. Although these are all the parts and everything that you need, this one is pretty janky. Was this one what do you call that? What do you call that when you got the prototype? I guess this one was kind of a prototype one, so it lined out in here a little bit funky. I'll be building one of these probably later this week to replace this one. This one works fine. It just doesn't sit where I want it really nicely and compactly, so I'm going to end up rebuilding it and probably using most of these parts that are here. I'm just going to end up reassembling it back together. Now, the way that a reactor works is I'm pumping water up and down and back in this way. Now the CO2 is being injected in and being immersed from that pump flow going up and down. The gravity is going to be pulling the CO2 towards the back up, so this pipe in the middle, all that CO2 will be bashing around in there, and then also I have some old biomedia balls that you can see me loading in there right now to kind of agitate the water as it passes through this center pipe. I felt like I just said 40 sentences all in a row. Vinnie Mac, what's up? All American plugs, they look like they're being violated. New Zealand and Australian plug appears happy whatever's being done to it. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, still working on finding the Pinto King Kongs. I got one potential person left before I give up. Thank you, Joel, for looking for those King Kongs. I'm looking for the Pinto King Kongs. Those are the shrimp that I'm looking for the 180 that's right next to this 240 right here. That's kind of what I'm looking for specifically. Green Hulks were on the list, so Green Hulks might be where I end up going. We've really gotten to a point where it's just what's available in the United States, and some stuff is available, but at outrageous prices. Like, I'm realistically not going to pay $90 a shrimp. It's just not going to happen. No. So availability and price are kind of a consideration right now. I don't have $1,000 to put down on a new colony. I have money. I don't have that money to just throw onto a big giant colony right now, as far as that going on. I do have some money, but that's all going to be going into the fish room as far as the build out and finishing the rest of this, the stands and all this stuff that's going on. So I just don't have a ton of money to throw at shrimp, so it's availability and price. Those are the two kind of break-offs, if you know what I'm saying. Joel's saying, wow, they're that expensive. Some of these pure strain breeders and stuff out there, I mean, they even have, I'll consistently see like $39.99 for two or something like that. I often see $89 a piece. For a lot of kind of specific shrimp and stuff like that. I'm not going to be going that high. My kind of break-off point, which ends up being too much, is around the $6 mark. Anything around above that is just going to be too much money. And also my thrifty nature says to try and find a better deal, even if I do find that deal. I'm not sure how long this video is. How long? Oh, we're coming up on the end of it because I'm going to be doing something else here. So let's turn on... Wait. Uh-oh. We broke something. What did we do? Oh, no, we're good. We've moved on. Hold on. Oh, okay. Yeah, there we go. That's the next video. I clicked the right button. That's amazing. That's amazing. So, as you guys see, I'm going to kind of be bashing through getting this the reactor set back up, and I kind of make these confounded looks on my face. Like, I'm like, and I'm reefing on this thing. Like I said, I'm probably going to end up rebuilding this later this week because it doesn't sit exactly how I want it. And as I was sitting here playing with it, I ended up starting realizing, like, oh, yeah, that's why I don't build them this specific way anymore. So I'm going to probably end up building a new one to replace this one because I think the last 2 or 3 of them that I built I ended up giving to other people. So this is the only one that I had on hand right now. So I figure I'm just going to get it set up and get it jammed in. Danny's Aquarium, what up? This is your first time in a stream of me. All right, what up? What's up? To everybody that's new to the stream, I would like to remind people that the Saturday live stream is earlier instead of later. And those of you that miss the actual live stream throughout the week that are later at night, just remember they do upload as a video later, so you can actually go watch them later at your own leisure. At your own leisure, you don't necessarily have to watch them live. You can kind of click through and watch all those ones. I just have them set to upload as a video after the live stream is over, so that if anybody misses it, they can just come back and watch it later. Sub Aqua UK, at last, our schedules meet up. Good to be watching. Right on. If you're in the UK, it's probably 9:30, right? think it's 9:30 at night there, so it actually does work out pretty good when I do it at 1 o'clock my time. But typically I do it at 8 o'clock my time, so what was that, like 4 a.m. in the UK? So I don't necessarily normally see a lot of Brits showing up, because it's probably just a crazy weird time for anybody to be interneting. But thank you guys for coming out. As I was talking about, this is my old CO2 reactor and doesn't necessarily seat well, so it actually gives me something to build this week. Actually, I have all the parts just kind of lying around, so I'll probably just scrounge up some parts out of my shop and just build a new one. I don't have to go buy anything new. But building a reactor like this realistically only costs about, let's say probably about $18, and then the pump. So I think the pump's probably $18. So it's about $40 or something altogether, realistically, to do all that. And on a side note here, you guys will see me hooking up a hard line of CO2 that comes from my CO2 valve. I'm trying to think of the name of it right now. But either way, the solenoid goes to the valve, goes to the tube, then the tube goes to the reactor. So that tube that's there is what I was trying to talk about, is a hard line. It is actually a vinyl line. It's not that blue, quote, CO2, unquote, tubing that you see from a lot of companies out there that sell that stuff that is kind of floppy and not rigid. You want rigid line. You want rigid supply line coming from the from your CO2 bottle over to however you're diffusing it into your tank. You really need to have a hard line doing this. If some of you guys that are on Aquascaping the World on Facebook, which is a huge aquarium-related Facebook group on Aquascaping the World, who is run by one of my friends, Brian Murphy, BM2019 or whatever his YouTube channel is. A long time ago was calling me because he kept having this huge drop-off. He had kept having this huge drop-off in his pressure from his tank, then going over to his diffuser, and then back over here and back over there, and he was ending up with leaks and all that stuff because you need this hard vinyl line. Here's the problem. You could probably run a tiny 2-foot run of that blue stuff if you wanted to and not really have any problems, but over any kind of long period or long run, so let's say 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet, you need to have this vinyl hard line, or you're going to end up just refilling your CO2 tank all the time, or gassing out your fish, or having all these real big problems. So go ahead and get that hard line. It's cheaper than the blue line. You just go to your regular old hardware store and find this hard vinyl line. It's a little bit more difficult to work with, as you'll see later when I'm like flopping it around and having all these issues. Here I am. I'm going to be hooking it up to one of my valves. I can't think of the name of, there's a name for it. I mean, what's wrong with my brain? I don't know. But you guys will see me hooking it up here. I have a six-way valve here. I'm going to answer Sagrath's question here. Sagrath1982 asks, "Hello, Corvus. One question. Maybe you can help me out. I have a heavy biofilm on my discus aquarium. How do you fight it? I have a sump plus a canister filter." Well, let's see. So we would have to figure out exactly what you mean with a heavy biofilm. So I have a bit of... So clarify a couple of points for me in the chat here. What do you mean by biofilm, and what kind of water changes are you doing on your discus tank, and is there any other kind of symptoms going on? And then we can probably get to answering some of that question. So if we get a couple points of clarity to your question there, then we can probably answer a lot of that, and we'll get back to answering some of my own questions about what the hell I'm doing on the video over here. So you can see there's a 6-way needle valve on this, on my CO2 regulator here. And I'm pulling one of the set screws off and putting the vinyl hardline back onto it. Now, this is one of the parts that takes a little bit longer. Taking this off, putting it back on takes a little bit longer, and you guys will watch me struggle with it a little bit real time here. There's no time lapse or any of that kind of stuff. But you always want to, whenever moving equipment or any of this kind of stuff, you got to take all this stuff off, clip it, make a nice cut, and then put it all back together just to make sure that nothing has been really broken or anything like that. And when you're doing this, don't pull this nut off. Just push it further down the line, then clip the line, then bring it back on. You have a lot more trouble getting this thing fed back onto there than you really need to at this point, especially if you're just doing a little bit of the maintenance. And you guys can see I cut it at a weird angle, so I need to go back and cut it, make sure that it's nice and flush. Those tools I'm using there are basically just a giant razor blade on a fulcrum point that that cuts tubing, so you can actually see me kind of use it as a knife a little bit there as I'm kind of cleaning up that edge. Get this thing, get it put back on. Boom, no problems. Then we just kind of move along to the other part. And you'll see in a little bit later here, it looks like I'm burning the other end that I plug into the actual reactor itself. I'm actually just melting it to make sure that it can slide on and get on there. This one doesn't need it. This one just needs a lot of pressure. Boop, poke that on there. Then we end up screwing the set nut back on there and getting that thing sorted out. So while that's going on, we'll maybe Sagrath's getting back to us. I don't know. Maybe I got chat lag. Who knows? But we are halfway through the live stream today, so I would like to just give a shout out to everybody for coming out. Thanks. I really do appreciate it. It is a lot of fun doing this. And I will also say thank you to Tai Hang and Joel Gillett for your super chat contributions. You guys are leading the race right now. You guys are leading the race. And, you know, it was funny because I was actually talking to Vicky yesterday about going to New Zealand because we want to go. It's high up on my list. Vicky wants to go to Ireland first. I don't know why, because I want to go to New Zealand. I want to go to Australia and New Zealand. Vinnie Mac has a good point. Make sure you guys throw a like and a share. Yeah, click the like button and share it out there. Yeah, good point. Thanks, Vinny. And, yeah, so as you guys can see, there are a lot of people out there that are going to get pissed that I use channel locks on this instead of using the actual size wrench because I'm going to mess up my brass. But I don't care. People get pissed about that kind of stuff. I don't. All this stuff is to be used. All this stuff isn't to necessarily be maintained forever. And a regulator like this will break down after probably like 10 years. So if I keep it perfect and polished and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff, I might as well just leave it in the box. Might as well just leave it in the box and not use it. It will eventually become corroded and whatnot. It is brass, and it will have to be rebuilt at some point. And it being the 21st century, it probably costs more money to rebuild it and find all the weird gaskets than just getting a replacement one, which is sad. I don't like that about this portion of the world that we're living in. We don't repair things anymore or make stuff to be repaired necessarily. I know that, like, if my GoPro broke, I wouldn't have a clue how to fix it, but, whatever. So it seems like there's a spot that I put underneath the stand here for the CO2 because there is. There is this spot right next to my sump underneath the stand where the CO2 is going to reside, and then I have a spot up in my loft for my other two, what size are these? These are 20-pound CO2 tanks. So these are kind of the bigger ones, not the monster ones, but they're the bigger ones. They're not the 50-pound ones. The 50-pound ones I find are just ungainly and difficult to manage around. I feel like the 20-pounder is just about the right size to deal with. You used to have to deal with the 50-pound ones since the cameras dropped out. But luckily we have... But luckily we have video to watch while my camera drops out. It's been a long time since that happened. I wonder what's conflicting with that. We'll find out. But I used to have to manage around the 50-pound ones all the time, working in restaurants, and then eventually in restaurants we started to even cycle out of those and swapped over to 500-pound. Went around to 500-pound tanks so that we don't only have to swap those out every once in a while, which is where I ended up learning this little trick to make sure that you have a hard line on your CO2. The guys that installed that, I actually helped them install it, and guess what? They had rigid line because they weren't going to drop and lose pressure or anything like that as the system was running from one tank way across the building. Once I started piecing that together, which was a long time ago, that might have been 10 years ago at this point in time, but once I started piecing that together, I realized, like, oh, my CO2 injection is having problems because my floppy, stupid line. So then I ended up switching over to this. Now, the problem with this was when I had small tanks at the time, it was virtually impossible for me to navigate the vinyl tubing into a very small tank. I think at the time all I had was nano tanks or something like that. And so I had to come up with a new kind of interesting way to do it, which is one of the reasons I ended up running with a sump, because I had all these nano tanks hooked up to one sump, and then I could just run like the reactor and the equipment down below, and then just have the returns coming up the back of the nano tanks and running them that way, which was pretty smart to do. Joel's asking, does the CO2 bubble need to bobble around for long before it dissolves in the water? Realistically, it doesn't take that much, but as the flow coming from the pump that's on the bottom going up and over and then back down and then hitting a 90-degree back into the tank, it's generally enough for it to get fairly dissolved into the water. It might not be 100%, but we're getting close to a lot of it being dissolved into the water. And getting it into the column. You know, the real reason to have CO2 in your water column is just allowing your plants to have free availability to carbon so that they're able to pick up carbon while they photosynthesize and use those as the building blocks for them to grow. That's the whole reason to inject the CO2, is just allow the availability. To give you a quick explanation, up in the atmosphere, in the air where we live, there's lots of CO2 available for plants to pick up at pretty much any time. Being stuck underneath the water, there's not a lot of CO2 for the plants to uptake, so that is one of the reasons that they grow slower. Even if they are photosynthesizing a lot from the light, they'll have a tendency to grow slow because they can't pick up that free carbon to combine it with the other nutrients that they're getting in order for them to grow and photosynthesize and do all that stuff. So that's the whole reason for injecting CO2 into the water column, is to have more free carbon floating around in the water column so that your plants can grow properly and be real pretty. Be real pretty like Vinnie Mac's angels, his angelfish, and his little Microswords tanks. Bit of smash action surely beats a lazy float at the top approach. Yeah, it does smash it up in there. It does agitate it pretty good. You guys can see that there are actually bubbles blowing through and coming back up and out. That is not how it normally. Operates. Right now it's sucking a little bit of extra air from one of the fittings up at the top and blowing a little bit back out the bottom, which is just a matter of me later going back and just tightening it back up, but that's not going to be an issue for much longer. And I'm blowing a fair bit of CO2, and as far as measuring goes, a lot of people have asked me how do I measure. I've just been using this for a really long time, so I can get an idea from the bubble count. So you can see in that clear tube up there that is going back up and over and doing that maneuver, there is where the CO2 is fed into the system, and then I can see the bubbles and just count them as they go and get a rhythm for what is going on. And then in the video here, sorry, my camera is set to a dark setting to shoot that, so I have to kind of change the setting for the tank up here. My tank was actually really clear until I started fucking around in the sump, and then it got a little bit murky again. But the Choco Piz, the chocolate Choco Piz water is going away for sure now, and I'm gonna swap the filters out again before I go to this wedding that we're going to here shortly. On that, it being just for carbon, what about liquid carbon? Like how's that different to gas? Okay, so the Joel's asking, what's the difference between the liquid carbon versus the gas? Nothing really. There's nothing really. You can dose either one. Honestly, injecting the CO2 from a CO2 tank is way more controllable, though. It definitely gives you, it's way more controllable. Plus, I have a bigger volume of exactly what I want. So that liquid carbon does work and does work fairly well. It's not necessarily going to be picked up by other people's substrate either. There are a lot of substrates out there that do not have a negative cation charge to be able to grab free carbon as it's needed. So that's kind of an issue with the liquid stuff versus actual CO2 in the water column being dosed in. And I can actually have much higher levels of CO2 because I'm agitating with oxygen and CO2 on both ends, because that's why my return comes down, drops through, agitates, and reoxygenates before it goes into the sump. And as it travels through the sump, then we add CO2 with a reactor in that third chamber, and then it gets returned back up in. So we have a lot of oxygen and we have a lot of CO2. We have very high levels of both all the time. Well, obviously when the CO2 is on. As I set the timers, this always confuses people. The CO2 needs to turn on an hour before the lights turn on and turn off an hour before the lights turn off. That's the easiest way to do it. A lot of you guys that have been following me for a long time know that there are times when I leave my CO2 on 24 hours a day, because a lot of times once a system is mature, I'll just end up leaving the thing on for 24 hours a day. It just saves me the trouble of worrying about if the solenoid is working or not, or if the level that I'm gassing is going to be consistent throughout the day. Joel Gillett said, Big E's. Hello. Joel Gillett says, the tank I used liquid carbon in, I use EcoComplete gravel mixed with normal gravel. I hope that does some negative ion catching. I bet EcoComplete does. EcoComplete does have some a good cation exchange realistically in it. I don't know if that's on purpose or not, but I think that it had something to do with the... and I'm having a brain fart on what laterite. Laterite, EcoComplete has a lot of laterite in it, which is actually what was used from, whatchamacallit. They actually designed and used that to build baseball fields with, I believe, or they used it for roads in really wet areas. I don't know which one came first. One of those came first, and then they ended up... So whichever way it went, they ended up using laterite a lot for baseball fields, and that's when they ended up coming up with it. I can't remember the name of the actual baseball field stuff that we used to get. We used to get it in these 60-pound bags. I can't remember what it was called. It was like Eco Turf or Astro Turf, or I don't know. It had some goofy name to it. I don't believe that they sell it anymore. I think they're using different stuff now, though, because I remember the last time I bought 2 bags of it, the guy was like, I'm not going to be able to get this anymore, and I don't know if it was just because of that guy or whatever. I'm not sure 100%. Derek Reunion, what up from Prague? You're in Prague? Derek Runyon is in Prague. Well, that's awesome. Europe. As you guys can tell, I have some of the sound board up. Sound foam. Words. We have some of the sound deadening foam up. I have this whole other wall to do over here, so I still got this echo chamber going on. But we'll be working on that. Don't worry. Don't stress yourself out about it. But Prague. What's Runyon doing in Prague? Prague. I don't know. That sounds like fun. I hear that's a beautiful city. One of my buddies spent a few years living over there, and he talked about the architecture period was insane. Subaqua UK is asking, do root feeding plants get any benefit from CO2? Yes, 100%. Every plant. As I was talking about earlier, the reason for gassing CO2 is allowing that free carbon to be available. The carbon is the building block of all things, including you. Yes, you and you and you and you and you. That's why when you watch a sci-fi show, they go carbon-based life forms. That's what they're talking about. Carbon is the building block that combines with the other nutrients in order to create something, some kind of form. So yes, it is very important for root feeding plants also. It's basically any plant. It has to do with the photosynthetic process. In order for photosynthesis to work and combine to create a new part of the plant, they need that free carbon as much as they can. And it won't kill your plants if they don't have it. It will just slow the progress of how long it takes them to grow. And I don't know why Dwayne has no sound. Everyone else has sound, Dwayne. Or did I lose it? Did I lose it? I don't know. Now I'm typing into the chat. So we'll see. Hopefully sound is still working and we can just keep yammering on like crazy people. We'll find out. We'll see what happened. Oh. I don't know why Dwayne seems to not have sound. Okay, Dwayne's sound is broken. Sorry, Dwayne. But hey, man, the world is huge, so everyone can live stream all at the same time. It's all good. Totally cool. Saturday's the early one, so I'm always conflicting with people. Apparently last night when I did it a little bit earlier than I normally do, a lot of people said I was conflicting with somebody else's live stream. There was a big one going on, which, hey, it's totally cool. It's definitely not something that like bugs me or anything like that. That's awesome. I hope there's more live streams. I hope there's more videos. I hope there's more. Let's keep doing and creating and doing all this stuff. It's a lot of fun. I don't know if anybody really enjoyed Vicky coming on last night, but I did, and hopefully she'll be coming on to more live streams. I guess that was one of her big things about helping organize a little bit today, so I can get the other mic stand hooked up and all that kind of stuff so that we can throw Vicky in here and she can talk about some of the stuff that's going on with her new tank and her new stuff and all the stuff that's been going on around here. And get somebody else's perspective that's been here. I enjoy Vicky also. She is quite funny. I agree with Joel. I will buy the lady a chair. I will get her a chair. Oh, wait a minute. We actually do have a chair, and I can't go get it right now. But the other live streaming chair has arrived. That will be over there. It is actually made out of an old whiskey barrel that we got when we were in Kentucky. It finally arrived. So that will be the other chair for Vicky to come in here and post up, as he will. Post up like LeBron James and be all up in the live streams, if you know what I'm saying. We do have her a chair, though. Believe it or not. Actually, I think this is her chair. She took my chair up to her office upstairs, and so I think I'm using her chair, which is probably why my back feels weird. But, yeah. So, I'm glad to get past this little point of getting the reactor and all that stuff set up. It doesn't seem like you guys have a ton of questions in regards to how it functions, how it works, all that kind of stuff. I do have some other videos up about that kind of stuff, but I just wanted to give you guys a chance to look behind the skirt, as you will, as things are coming along, being set up, and let you guys know exactly what's going on. Derek Runyon has a great point. Let's get some likes, people. That's for sure important, right? Is it? I don't know. I don't know if it's important or not. I've never, I don't know what I don't know what they do. I don't know if they do anything necessarily. As far as I can tell, international views seem to be the biggest thing. So if you happen to be international, which means you live on the planet, guess you watching from the international internet is important, I guess. That seems to be the biggest thing as far as the algorithm goes. But I like likes, I guess. I don't know. Seems nice. Dwayne's got his sound issue resolved, which is good. But as I was saying earlier about the electrical stuff, I did a lot of work to the electrical here to make sure that everything is going to be isolated throughout the whole entire fish room and not ever get overloaded or any of that kind of stuff. And it really had kind of. I had kind of escaped my mind that I had done it until this last week, realistically, when I'm going around and realizing how much I staged the electrical to really be just kind of exactly what I need it to do out there. And I'm really glad I took the extra time to do all that extra work with the electrical and stuff and make sure that it's legit. And it's really paying off now as I'm going through and setting stuff up. I have no issue really thinking about what I'm doing when I get to that electrical part. So one of the things that we noticed when I was over to go look at Long Woo's new setup is that they don't have any electrical where he's planning on getting the where he's getting his tanks set up. So hopefully we're going to find out in the next week or two what his electrical layout is, and hopefully we'll be able to put the tanks there and it shouldn't be a problem. Otherwise we might have to run some electrical around, which might make the process a bit of a bigger thing. So we'll see how that comes along. But as I'm working in my fish room, I'm realizing all that layout work that I did, all the extra work, I spent all the extra money on big heavy gauge wire. You know, there's nothing more frustrating when I go to pull an outlet out of somebody's wall and it's 14 gauge wire or 12 gauge wire. Or, sorry, not 12 gauge, 14 gauge wire or 16 gauge wire on a fucking outlet. Nothing pisses me off more than finding that kind of cheapskate maneuver for whenever somebody did the electrical. A 14 gauge wire should only ever have lights on it at any point in time. But a lot of the stuff in the shop is actually 10 gauge wire, which is a pretty beefy wire to run through the wall, and is a huge pain in the ass to wire in, but well worth it in the long run to make sure there's no resistance within any of the electrical running around the shop. And then the rest of it is all 12 gauge stuff. Even the lights and everything are all on 12 gauge. All the lights, everything all around there is all outdoor wiring. It's all outdoor graded wiring instead of indoor graded. So if anybody knows what I'm talking about, I just did a lot of extra work to make sure that everything would be laid out exactly how we needed to. And this week it's really paying off to do that. It's really paying off to have done all that extra electrical work. And you know, one of the things that is one of the reasons that I learned how to do all this kind of stuff is so that I can actually afford to do it and afford to do it the right way. So realistically for us, bottom dollar ended up spending about $300 extra to get it done. But if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, that's really nothing. It costs typically, $1,800 to $2,100 a day to have an electrician come out to your house. But that's why I learn all this stuff. That's why I spend so much time learning all this stuff and working on this stuff and being, testing my knowledge and running it past inspections and all that kind of stuff. That's why I learned how to do this stuff, because I don't have the $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 budget to go ahead and turn this stuff around, and I know that there aren't a lot of people out there that do, So I'm glad I got it done, and it really is. It's not necessarily a pat on the back; it's just a sigh of relief moment to just go like, "Oh, man, I can just plug all this stuff in and not have a problem because I took the time to get ready for it ahead of time." Because there was a point where we were just kind of muddling through this project and going like, man, this is taking too long. Everything is just taking longer than I thought because I realistically was taking all the extra steps. I wasn't skipping anything. There was no really half-assing it until I got to the floor work, which we'll get onto later, because I did kind of just jam through the floor work real quickly because I was close to the end. But there's nothing really detrimental to it. It's just kind of shabby and stupid. But the rest of the stuff, I really took the time to make sure all my measurements, calculations, all that kind of stuff were super correct. And it's just a big sigh to go like, oh, I just plug it in and I ain't worried about it. It's dope. Joel Gillett saying YouTube gives not a toss for likes. YouTube rewards anything that leads to it generating more ad revenue, which means watching the entire stream. And yep, international viewers helps broaden advertiser spectrum factor. Rewards shares more, and it rewards them differently depending on the platform you share them to. Oh, very good points. That is very good points for sure. I guess if we realistically put things together in a way that makes sense, is that YouTube likes to sell ads. I don't like to sell ads. So that's one of the reasons why I ever even turned on the super chat thing in the first place. Hopefully we can get completely gone advertising. Just get rid of it. I think it's one of those big things like we're going to get rid of our cable TV because it's just a pain in the ass money-wise. And it's a waste of time as far as I'm concerned, and it's more commercials than anything else. It's just like this tube of commercials that come into the house, and I really hope for the day where there are more services like HBO, maybe YouTube Red. I haven't tried YouTube Red yet. Maybe YouTube Red is significantly better. I'm not sure, but I don't like advertising. It pisses me off, and that makes me ridiculous, so I would like to not have any advertising on here ever again. And Eddie just shows up right near the end with the 3 to 4 minutes left. And Voeris is asking, did I paint that? Yes, everything in this room I painted, other than a couple of the pictures. There's a bunch of stuff in the background, painting-wise and stuff that I painted, and that is a tree project that has been going on for a long time that will hopefully, I hope, be getting some more work done on it within the next couple of weeks. It is very, very busy summertime here, so remodels and all sorts of things like that for sure going on. So it's been very busy, and I haven't had a lot of time to work on a lot of my paintings and my paint projects. Although yesterday, the place where we went and got my haircut, shout out to Supernova in Tacoma, Washington. They're actually a tattoo shop and a barber shop, which is kind of cool. Supernova. They're pretty cool, and we showed them a bunch of my art, so we'll probably be hanging some there fairly soon. Vicky is very excited about it, and she is sort of taking point on that, so we'll see how that goes. I'm sure it will work out great because Vicky is just good at doing stuff. And I have to sneeze. Excuse me. Sorry about that, guys. Joel Gillett said, well, thank you. It is a very nice painting. It's not quite done yet, but it will be complete sometime soon. I have somebody that really wants to buy it already. I'm like, it's not done. You have to wait till it's done before you want to say that you want to buy it. Because it might change by the time it's done. It might get sprayed with blood. Who knows? Joel Gillett says, used to be #1 TV watcher until last year. Last year I got fiber internet and stumbled across the YouTube app on my PS4. Haven't done anything but that for over a year now. Don't miss TV at all. Agreed. The one upside to TV is that you're able to just kind of turn it on and watch, realistically it's like, oh, we're going to eat dinner for 5 minutes. You can just turn it on and like, oh, what's this, Discovery Channel or something. But I'm probably going to be networking one of the other computers out there so that we're able to just click onto the whatever feed we have set up for whatever is going on, and then just watch whatever and just eliminate that whole thing altogether. We ended up having to go with Comcast initially here, and their internet sucked, for lack of a better way to put it, bowls, and it was kind of the worst thing around. So we ended up switching back to CenturyLink, which actually has an upload speed on it, which actually makes sense. So we're, I think, We have fiber optic, but it's only, I have it throttled to like 120 megs down and I think 60 megs up. So it's that parallel that we're really looking for. Oh, Eddie with the super chat, man. He promised a super chat for the next live stream. Thank you. Thank you for your $10 contribution. That all goes right back into the fish room. I'm probably getting a new mic so that Vicky can come in here a little easier and be on the live streams with us. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate it. But I'm not sure what I was talking about now. The super chat is all about sidebarring whatever I was doing. Joel Gillett says, YouTube fish people is your TV now. Definitely beats the news. Agreed. I listen to mostly podcasts. That's mostly what I do. YouTube and podcasts are pretty much all that I listen to now because, podcasts give me an opportunity to listen to guys like Sam Harris for 2 hours while he talks about what's going on. And there's just no way the news would ever be able to do that because it is just advertising. That's all it is. Oh, Voiris, thank you for blessing me. Thank you. But yeah, tattoo shop and a barber shop all in one. It was pretty cool. There was a coffee shop upstairs, but I didn't get to try the coffee because they were closed because it was kind of evening time when we went. But we are past over the 1 hour mark. So we're getting to the end of Saturday's live streams. If you guys want to have long live streams, do what Eddie just did and super chat money in here. Super chat money in here, and these will get longer and more elaborate. That's pretty much, I mean, there just really isn't a better way to explain that, I don't know. If I say like my time is valuable, is kind of ridiculous. But let's put it this way. Let's rephrase it to a better way. That the my time is occupied by having to make money, right? So like 12 hours out of my day, I have to go off-site to go make money, right? And then I have to come back, and then I just have a limited amount of time. So each day, all my free time is basically going into making these videos and doing these live streams, which I love doing. So that's why I'm going to keep doing it. And if you guys it really comes down to you guys, the subscribers, the fans, all that kind of stuff. If you guys help jazz this up there, then maybe someday I'll end up be able to eliminate some of that time out of my day. So that really is kind of the I guess that's kind of, if it was motivation or whatever, I guess that's the whole thing about it. Dwayne Kitchell says he will try to not step on my toes live stream wise next week. Don't worry about that. Do not worry about that at all. If anybody misses this, you can go ahead and watch it as the video later. And Joel Gillett with the super chat, thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. As we're coming up to the end here, somebody has arrived. Who? Oh, Pete V6 fam. I would love to be, realistically, I would love to be broadcasting full time. I would love to be able to do a 2-hour show in the morning and a 2-hour show in the afternoon, while I can video in the middle of the day. That's what, long term, that's what one of our goals is to be doing that. And that's what I am pushing and working for and keeping it going today. There wasn't really any planting today, Joe Black. There will be planting. We'll be back tomorrow. Today was doing CO2 and I was hooking up the CO2 and talking about sumps and the advantages of sumps. So that was a lot of that stuff. But we'll be planting tomorrow because we have more plants to plant tomorrow. Feel my swag. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming out to all the live streams. Rurutu, I appreciate you coming out to all the live streams. Joel Gillett, I appreciate you guys coming out for sure. Rurutu will make it in like right at the end. He'll make it in for sure, but maybe by the end. Rurutu is regularly here on the weeknight evenings. So if anybody is a little bit confused by the schedule, I get it because the schedule is confusing. I understand. So most nights it's 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And on the weekends, I try to get in here at 1 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, which would have been today, about an hour ago. And then Sundays is kind of in the midday time, so it's probably like 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I don't really know how that falls in, but honestly, it seems like it's working out really well for our New Zealander and Australian brothers. So whoever's on that side of the planet seems to be working out pretty well, because it seems that a lot of you end up showing up, and but that's really how it's working out best for my schedule, because my schedule is jam-packed during the day with just nonsense, and I'm not even here. So, let's give ourselves a quick recap of the video today. So what did we do? We hooked up the CO2, we hooked up some light timers, we hooked up the CO2 reactor, and we also talked about the timing cycles and all that kind of stuff and the reasons for CO2. And hopefully, if anybody has any big questions regarding that, you can go ahead and direct message me, just like Cichlid Bro, Joel Gillett, all those guys who message me on a fairly regular basis. And so this is how I'll be responding to most of those messages. Cichlid Bro, we started talking about that kind of stuff, but we'll be getting to his Sump stuff in the future. And of course, the easiest way to sidebar the live stream at any time is to super chat money, for sure. I'd like to give a big shout out to Eddie. I don't know how to say Kittia. This is his last name, I think. Eddie Kittia, for contributing today. Feel My Swag 15 for contributing today, and Joel Gillett for being a longtime contributor. Thank you very much, you guys. I much appreciate you guys coming out. I hope your Saturday is awesome. I would love to keep live streaming today, but now I need to go take a shower, put on my spiffy suit and maybe a little bit of man perfume, and probably bust out the schnazzy leather shoes, and not my work shoes, and get all sorts of spiffed up for this wedding that we're going to. Should be a lot of fun. It looks like the weather's going to be great. So thank you everybody for coming out, and everybody for contributing. It's awesome. Thank you very much. And have a great Saturday out there, everybody. Now, watch your earbuds, because the later is coming up. Later.